Hey everybody, my name is Zaki and I am a teacher's assistant who will hopefully help you guys out in your journey to success in the course that you're currently in. A little bit about me, I am currently in U of T and I am pursuing a psychology major or specialist. The system's a little weird in U of T. We don't have majors, we have like majors and specialists, but don't worry about that. Um, yeah, but I also want to do one more program alongside my psychology. So it could be neuroscience, math, or statistics. I haven't decided yet, to be honest. Hopefully by the end of my first year, I will have, and I can then update you if I'm still around in this school, and if any of you have any questions. Regardless, if any of you do decide to go to U of T and you see me there, feel free to say hello. If I've seen you in person, chances are I will like there's a 99% chance I will remember your face, and I really apologize if I forget your name. But anyways, that being said, I'm glad to meet all of you, whether that's in person eventually or just through these recorded meetings. Regardless, it doesn't matter. I hope to see you all in person, ideally speaking. So let's move on to talking about the math activity that we are going to do, and I will be introducing the assignment that you guys are going to do as well. All right, hopefully you guys have your paper open, but let me just share my screen, and this is what you guys are supposed to be doing, if I'm not mistaken. You have this warm-up activity where you are given some equations. You have to solve them on paper first, and then you have to try to make programs on Scratch that can solve these functions. So I will go through a sample problem with you guys that I'm probably just going to make up, and I will show you how to solve that problem on paper first and how to do it on Scratch as well. So let's just get started. Let's say we have a equation like I don't know, 4x plus 10 equals not 40. We'll say 60, right? Sure, let's just go with that. The first thing we would do in a question like this is we would to isolate for 4x, we would move the 10 to the other side. So we would do 4x equals 60 minus 10, right? And now we got all the numbers on one side and we got the variable on the other side, right? And we do our subtraction. 60 minus 10 is 50, right? And then what would we do here? We would probably just divide both sides by 4. So if we divide both sides by 4, and the reason we're dividing both sides by 4 is so we can isolate for x, because that is what we are looking for in the end. So these cancel out because they're both 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. So it's just that cancels out. And if we're dividing 50 by 4, ooh, I think we're going to get a nice decimal number with this. Okay. 4 times 1 is 4. This is going to be a little dicey, so bear with me. 4 times 1 is 4. So that's going to be 10. So that's going to be 4 times 2 is 8. And then we're going to do a decimal and 5. Okay, regardless, we got our answer. X is 12.5. Honestly, if you guys can't do this in your head, that's perfectly fine. You can do this on a calculator too, which I will demonstrate right now. So if we're just doing 50 divided by 4, right? And there you go. It is indeed 12.5. So we got that correct. Oh, I wrote 12.4. Oops. Oopsies. Let me just fix that. Okay. I don't know why I wrote 12.4, but yeah. So we get our answer. It's 12.5. So a question like this to solve on paper is relatively simple, and I would probably end the meeting right here or end the video right here. But we have to now solve this equation on Scratch. So let's do that. So let's go on Scratch. So let's just go on Scratch. And this is the home page that you will most likely be facing. If you would like, you could create an account, and that way you can save all of the projects that you work on, all of the codes that you make. Or if you want to, or if you don't want to do that, that's fine as well. I'm not really sure if you guys are supposed to do that or not. But anyways, what we're going to be focused on right now is clicking this button here called Create. We're going to be creating our own little project. Okay, now that we are here, everything is loaded up. First thing we need to realize is we're going to do nothing with this cat. So we can just get rid of this. So you can press the trash can button right here on top of the sprite in the bottom right corner of your screen. And there you go. Now we have a clean canvas on which we could draw things, make things, and do our code. And you might be wondering, what do you mean by draw things or make things? Well, if you click this button here beside code called backdrops, you can edit the background, aka this part of the screen, and literally draw or write whatever you want. So if I want to, I could draw on this, I could say whatever I want to. But for the purposes of the warm-up activity, I'd recommend you just click this T right here, which is the text box, and just write down your equation, right? So what is our equation? We have 4x plus 10 equals 60, right? So you do 4x plus 10 equals 60. Oop, 60. And that is what we are working with. That is our question. Now, what I'd also recommend you guys do is have another, right, in another text box, right, x equals. And this little text box here is going to represent our answer. And it's going to be very important for us because when we find the answer using our program, it will be displayed right here. So we're done here with the backdrop. So we can go back to the fun part, which is our code. So you might be wondering, where do I start? There's so many options, right? Well, good rule of thumb is to start right here. When you go click this events tab, and then you click this flag button, when flag clicked. All this means is when you click this green flag, right, the go button, it's going to do something. It's going to do something, whatever you tell it to do. So that's the first step. You just drag the when flag is clicked. If you wanted to, you could also do when spacebar press. So instead of pressing this go button, you could press the spacebar and it'll run the code as well. But you know what, to make it easy, let's just do when flag click. Anyways, after that, what we want to do is you want to go all the way down to variables, and you want to make a variable. And we're going to call this variable value of x. Now, why are we doing this? Well, this variable, it represents our answer, right? And you might be wondering, what is a variable? A variable is just, it could be anything. It could be a letter. It's just some value of something. It could be a word. It could be a letter. It could be a number. And for our purposes, it's a number. So this variable represents a number. And this number is going to be our final answer. And that's why we are creating it, to show our answer, right? And you can see when you create the variable, it shows up right here in the top left corner of your little display window over here. So what a good thing you should do is right click this and click large readout, and then drag this over here. And now you can probably see where we're going with this. And this represents our answer. So we got most of the stuff set up. We got our value of x, and you can see when you make the variable, you get these 4 options saying set my variable or value of x to a number, or change value of x to a number. You could show your variable, you could hide your variable, and if you click hide, for example, so when you press the flag button, it'll disappear. Or similarly, if you click show variable, it will show the variable. Very self-explanatory, but you don't even need to worry about that right now. What we need to worry about is we need to set the value of x to something, right? Because we are calculating x. And basically, in order to figure out what we're going to put in here, we need to go back to our handwritten solution, and we need to think about what we were doing to get our answer, right? So the first step we did was we did subtraction. We did 60 minus 10. So we did this. First step was subtraction. All right, and then after we subtracted, we then had to divide. So our second step was to divide. And that's how we got our final answer. And that's really all it is, right? And sure, it sounds confusing right now, but eventually it will make sense. Give me just 1 second. Second step was division. Right. So these are the steps that we're working with. So in our program, we need to first subtract, then we need to divide, and then we will get our final answer. And this will help you guys visualize what steps you need to take for the questions that you are working with. So with all of this in mind, let's go back over here, right? So we said, we need to do some subtraction. How do we do that? Well, if you scroll over here to operators, there you'll see this plus sign, this minus sign, this multiply sign, and this divide sign. So what you can do is, well, we said that we're going to do subtraction, right? So we can just drag the subtraction sign, and you can drag it over onto this circle. You see this? So this little area right here, you could write a number, or you could drag one of these operators in there, right? So our first step would be to subtract. So what are we going to subtract? We're going to subtract 60 minus 10, because that's what we did in our first step. So 60 minus 10. And then what do we do? After we did 60 minus 10, we had to divide. We had to divide what we got by 4, right? So we would do, so then we would drag set value of x again, and then we would drag, go back up here to operators, or you could click operators, and then we drag this divide sign. Divide, by the way, is the slash symbol, if that's confusing, and this is multiply. So this is plus, minus, multiply, divide, just in case you guys weren't clear about that. Anyways, after we did 60 minus 10, right? We're going to need to do, well, what did we get when we did 60 minus 10? Right? We got 50, and we had to do 50 divided by 4. So we're going to need to do this again, right? Because remember, 60 minus 10 is what? 60 minus 10 is 50, right? And this represents 50. And we need to divide that by 4. So what we can do is we can drag 60 minus 10 again, and then we can divide that by 4. And let's see if this works. It should give us the answer. And there you go. Just like that, we got our answer. All it took was 2 steps. All we had to do was create a variable, drag our operators, and then we had to do some math, and we got our answer. And that's basically what you guys are going to do. And you're going to repeat, and you're going to see if you can do the same with the equations that you've been given over here. After this, we will talk about the math assignment that you guys have to do, where you have to create an equation. Well, no, you don't have to create an equation. You have to create a program that can solve an equation, and I will talk more about that in a little bit. All right, so let me just share my screen, and I will read off of what I have for the assignment that you guys are going to be doing. So hopefully you guys are following along, but we have this programming mini assignment, right? Where now we have to make a program that could solve any equation in the form of ax plus b equals c, where a, b, and c are just some constants, right? So I'm not going to show you how to do this on Scratch, obviously. That would kind of defeat the purpose, and it would be me giving you the answer. But what I can do is help you understand how you could go about doing this type of assignment. So what I would do, so the first thing I would do is I would write out what we are working with. So we have a form of a function ax plus b equals c. And sorry, I keep calling them functions. I'm used to my grade 11 knowledge where, spoiler alert, you learn these are called functions, but well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyways, these equations, right? We have equation in the form ax plus b equals c. And you might be thinking, well, we're working with 4 variables. Well, we're not, right? This equation is no different than this equation that we were working with too, right? Imagine 4 was your a, 10 was your b, and 60 was your c. So treat these like you would treat numbers, right? So if we were to simplify this, for example, it would be ax equals c minus b. We bring the b to the other side. And then what we would do is we would do ax equals c minus b. And what would we do to isolate for x? We would divide both sides by a. So we would do divided by a, right? And then we would do divide a here as well. So the a's cancel out. And what we are left with is x equals c minus b over a. So this is like the biggest hint for you guys for what you want your equation to do. You want your equation to be able to do c minus b over a, and have that work for any constant c, any constant b, or any constant a that you put in, right? Some hints that I could give you guys to help you out is use those operators, the plus, the minus, the multiply, the divide, tinker with them. See what happens when you, for example, put a multiplication sign in a division sign, or what happens when you put an addition sign in a subtraction sign. And another hint is to make variables. And you know what, I'll just show you guys what I mean. Give me a second. I'll show you again. So you see how we had a value of x, right? Well, I would recommend you make more variables. So make a variable called A, make a variable called B, make a variable called C, right? And then, do the same thing we did, large readout, large readout, large readout, and then drag these on top of their corresponding values. All right, say for example, let me make this a little bit easier so you guys know what I'm talking about. Instead of writing 4x, I can write ax, write b, and I can write c, right? So do something like this, and it will help you out tremendously. And then tinker with these variables and see if you can come up with a way that if you can come up with a program that could solve any equation regardless of what value you put in. And just a little bit, just another hint that I'm going to throw at you. It has something to do with this. Ask, and you could edit this to whatever you want. You could ask any questions. And it also has to do with answer. If I tell you any more than that, I think that would be giving it away. But I think you have a pretty decent idea of what to do. So you have to work with this. You have to work with this. You have to work with these. So you have to work with your operators. Right? You have to work with these, and you have to make these variables. You have to work with these variables somehow. So A, B, C, value of X, and this set statement. And by the way, you can change set to be whatever you want. So you can set A, you can set value of X, and stuff like that. So these are the building blocks that you need to work with. And of course, there's the when flag clicked. So these are the blocks you are working with. See if you can tinker with them in such a way that they form a program that could solve any of these equations. And if you're aiming for a level 4, try making a program that could solve for an equation in the form of cx plus d. That will be very challenging, and I hope you guys are able to do it. So with that being said, thank you again for I'm so happy to meet you guys. Hopefully I meet you in person, fingers crossed. And if there's any problems, I hope I can be there to help you guys out. I'm seriously fingers crossed. So yeah, with that out of the way, take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.